Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer board game review for the game Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age by Board and Dice. This is a 1 to 4 player game that takes roughly 90 to 150 minutes for ages 14 and up, where you play as one of the clans of the Minoan tribe. This is a location in ancient Crete. It was an island that was discovered to find literally nobody there, so we have no idea what happened. Could have been a flood or a hurricane. It's one of those kind of Roanoke kind of thing, colony from America that kind of just disappeared. Same is said for this one here. But in this, basically, you're constructing locations and cities and areas in this specific region in Crete and trying to basically expand on your global control and becoming the best, most prosperous tribe of one of the Minoan colonies. This is a Euro game. It is a dice drafter where you'll be rolling dice. You'll be selecting them and drafting them into your little crates here and placing them into one of 4 different actions or a while. And then from there, you'll have different options of trying to build and create illustrious new architecture in the island, or you could go ahead and generate more people and place them out on the field and move them around for more area control. You can play cards that will give you a variety of effects, whether improving your different technologies, and we have 3 that we're utilizing here, or maybe perhaps you're going to increase your economy or your culture in some unique way. You're also going to be vying for control of the seas. You will be vying for specific objectives in the game that are always going to be different, as well as, of course, improving upon your special ability that you're going to have for your specific tribe. The game is going to play in 4 rounds, which is basically 4 drafting phases, and at the end of the 4th, you'll tally up all your score, and whoever has the most points is the winner of the game Minos. I'll cover a very basic overview how the game is set up. I'm not going to go into too much details, a lot to go over, and of course, there's a how to play, but it's going to be very, very light as well. There's plenty of other videos you can see online to do that. In fact, I'll link one below that I actually took a look at before playing this game. Okay, then my review, of course. All right, so let's get into the setup explanation of the game. It's not set up currently. This is kind of what it looks like at the end of a game, except for I did manage to recreate green for B-roll purposes, but we'll go from top left to top right, and we'll go in stages that way until we get to the bottom right. First things first, the top left, the game will tell you based on how many players is how many face-up resources you're going to have. There are 6 different resources in the game that can be wheat, stone, silver, herbs, metal, and ore. And basically, you put 5 up so that people can grab face up whenever they turn in their non-permanent or semi-useful resources for actual permanent ones. The rest of the resources are still going to be used, definitely, in the game. You'll put them face down. You can go ahead and put it next to that side. Round tracker is next. Place the round marker on the first star space. Then you're going to have the board where you're going to use the drafting of dice, which is your actions throughout the game. Leave that all blank. And then the very corner on the right-hand side is going to be a unique space that has a variety of different tokens you can choose from or choose randomly. I just choose randomly. It's a bonus action you will get to take throughout the game as you draft dice. Left-hand side of the game board, you're going to add tiles here. These are going to represent the different actions for the 3 different boat spaces you can place your boats on. Pick 3 of them and then take 5 of each of the blue and red tiles and place them on their corresponding spaces adjacent on the right-hand side to those tiles. The middle of the game board is actually going to house nothing to start with, but when you get your characters, you're going to get a card that's going to tell you the number of where you're going to start. It'll tell you that you're going to start with a city, 1 soldier, and that will be where you're going to begin. Some characters like this one here, utilizing this card, is going to actually get an extra bonus soldier they're going to take from their reserves and place it on the game board. But otherwise, the rest of this game board is going to be blank, except for there's going to be island people that you're going to be basically fighting. They're like barbarians. You'll put a stage 1 and stage 2 on every space that is not a starting space of a player. And then you're also going to place one of these city tiles. Whenever somebody builds a city on one of these areas here, they're going to get the bonus. They're also going to go on spaces that do not house a starting tribe. So all the starting tribes basically just have characters and cities. Everything else is going to have stage 1 and 2 of the barbarians or the islanders, as well as a city space for when somebody does build a city there, they'll get bonus resources. 3 unique random objectives. They're going to look like a little vase, and they're going to include a 10, 7, and a 3-point victory condition, where as long as you reach it first, you'll get the top one, and second you'll get 7, and then third you'll get 3. And then the left-hand side, we're in the middle of the vase, that's going to tell you what objective you're trying to complete. Put 3 there randomly, as well as every single player is going to put one of their player markers, these little discs underneath it to represent that they have an opportunity to gain the bonuses when they get them in the game. The very bottom middle of the game board is going to represent the blue and red deck, respectively. You'll start with the blue deck, shuffle it up, and deal out 5 cards in the area below. These are cards you're going to gain, or that you can play, provided you spend additional silver. Far right-hand side is the last bit of the main game board, is where you're going to place all of your player markers. Each player is going to put one of their markers on the 0 space of that track. There's a red, yellow, and a blue track. As you go up on tracks anywhere for pretty much any Euro game, you're going to gain a bonus. So this is a way in which you're going to gain bonuses, whether it be passively from round to round, or as soon as you move up on that space. Last but not least for the main game board is your victory points. You're going to place your marker based on your starting card on that space, and it's a little cow with like a bull. It's a bull. It's got horns, right? Not a cow. Mine here says 9, so I would place my victory condition marker on the 9 space. Every player based on their starting card will be a little bit different. And that's the entire game board. You're going to have an additional red set of cards that you can go ahead and shuffle up and put to the side. Players will be drawing from them and gaining them eventually throughout the game. You'll have passive resources that you'll have to spend, or spendable resources. They're kind of the opposite of the permanent ones, where if you have a permanent, you get to use it forever. And then spendable ones, once you use it, it's gone. There's going to be money, silver, and there's going to be those axes, which is for combat. Place those in pools and set them aside. Player boards. First thing I want to mention is, of course, every player starts with a random starting card, which not only mentions where you start, what free permanent resource you get from the face-up stacks there, but as well as maybe a bonus character, or you might get a temporary resource, how many cards you're going to draw from this deck here, how many cards you must discard, and then you can place a card face up underneath your game board, only representing the bottom portion of it. The last 3 things are your victory condition, your victory points, your money, in this case mine's 14, and then axes, in this case mine is 4. And that will be distinguished on the game board, as well as gathering money and currency that you're going to be utilizing off to the side of your game board. Each player is also going to get a special ability. These are kind of look like little, I don't know, excess borders you're placed on the left-hand side of your game board. Mine here has a specific benefit that you can actually upgrade, and all of them do in a certain way, throughout the game. And you put your little marker on the lowest portion of it. Your game board. Put all your cities, your walls, your farms look like little trees, and your ships in their respective places. You'll notice that your first city is not actually available to place there. It's because it's going to start on the game board somewhere. As well as you'll place 3 units, usually, unless you're this specific card, then you'll place 2 in your little barracks area. This is where your supply is, and this is like your storage. And then, finally, for your main game board, you'll place your income marker on the farthest left-hand space. You'll have 4 of these dice pants, or dice holders. Set those aside. You'll be using them when you draft dice. All your remaining cards will go off to the side of the game board as well, and then give each player these guys here. These are reference cards. One for extra actions and actions, and the other is for round structure, income and cleanup, and then adding cards to the palace. That's it. That's the full setup of the game. Let's talk about how to play. And lucky for us, this round structure player reference card actually really does help. It tells you exactly how all the round structure goes, and then at the end of the round what you do, which is going to be income and cleanup, and on round 2 and 4, at the end of those rounds, you'll actually score. Obviously, at round 4, when the game ends, you'll see who has the most points, and there's extra scoring. So we'll go through these guys here. And the first thing is that you take all the dice, and you roll them. And when you roll them, you're then going to check to make sure that no singular digit has 6 of the same die. So if you get 6 ones, or 7 ones, or 8 ones, re-roll everything. After you've done that, you will take and position the die in categories based on their number. Put all the 1s in an area, all the 2s in an area, all the 3s, all the 4s, and the 5s and 6s, so that you have them organized so that people can see what dice they're able to pick up. Once that happens, then you're going to go ahead and draft and place them. So the way it works is in turn order, the player who starts with the first player marker, and it'll tell you on your starting card who starts with it, it'll have the little symbol of the first player marker. We'll just say that I do, even though my card doesn't. I will go first with drafting. I will take one of my little die holders here. I'll choose a die. I will place it in one of the leftmost spaces of the 5 different distinct areas. When you place die, the lowest number is always going to go to the farthest left space it can. So if there's a 6 and a 5 and you play a 3, the 3 will go over here. If you draft a 6 and there's a 6 and a 5 and a 3, the 6 will go right here between the 5 and the 6. There are 4 spaces on the game board for a 4-player game. If they're filled up, you can't place die, nor can you bump people around. When you've placed your die, that will end your placement, and the next player will place their die, and it will just keep going around in circles until all die have been placed. After all die have been placed, then we're going to go ahead and advance on these 3 tracks here, red, yellow, and blue. If you have a cumulative number of 9 points for any of the colors, you're going to move up on the dice track based on the color. So if I have a 5-pip red die and a 4-pip red die, put those together, that makes 9, and I can move up on the red track 1 space. Do whatever it says. Same is said for blue and yellow. If you have a gray, as long as you pair it up with another color and it makes 9 or more, that will give you that color's increase on that podium. And so there's usually going to be at least 1, maybe even 2 bumps per player when doing this. After you've advanced, then you're going to go ahead and take actions. The first player will start always selecting their highest die, and if they have multiple die of the same number, they select which one, 6s, then 5s, and 4s, you get the idea, and pull it off of the action space it currently resides on. They will take that action. After they take their action, they will pass, and the next player will take off their highest die, and then their next highest die, and it'll go around until all 4 dice for each player has been removed. After all the dice have been removed and each action has been finished in turn order, then you're going to end the round. And to end the round, you're going to do an income and a cleanup step. You'll check your player boards, your trade routes, this is a boat area here, your progress tracks, these 3 little podiums here, and any special ability tiles that you might have, and score bonuses, along with your income that's going to reside on your player board. And then you're going to move the round marker to the next space. If this is the end of the 2nd or 4th round, you'll do scoring. I'll talk about that at the end. But that's the basic idea of the game. I'll cover the actions, and then I'll cover a little bit about scoring, and we'll move on to my review, which will cover maybe other little questions you might have. There are 4 actions in this game. They're represented on these 4 different spaces on the game board. The first action is to draw cards, whether it be blue or red, as well as anything underneath the draw. So if it says 4 plus card, that's draw 4 cards. If underneath it, it shows a coin or it shows an axe, you'll take that many coins and axes. It might also tell you to move up on a track. It might tell you to take the bonus action represented by that random token I put over here in the corner. And it could also give you both coin and axes, okay? So the first one is draw cards. So you'll take your die off. You will draw that many cards. Whatever is underneath your die is how many cards you draw, and you perform your bonus action. And you'll pass, and the next player will go. And the second action is you can go ahead and play cards. If you have cards remaining in your hand that aren't underneath your board or discarded, you can spend currency from the top left of the card, reducing the cost by resources, whether it be permanent or a semi-permanent resource that you spend, by 3. So I have this stone, this costs me 7, I'm only going to have to pay 4 as opposed to 7. And you'll do whatever the middle portion is, not the bottom. In this case, it says to draw 2 cards. And if it's left on your board after playing it, because you'll play this kind of off to the side on your game board, you'll score points based on the top right-hand side. So pay the costs and reduce if possible in top left, do the ability in the middle, and then gain the benefit of victory points at the end of the game. And that is how playing cards works. You could play 1 or 2 cards, you could play 1 card and possibly get a bonus. It's just whatever is underneath your die. The next one is building. In order to build, you'll need to look at your game board. The game board is the same as playing cards. The top left demonstrates how much it's going to cost. There's an X next to the resources that can reduce it. So for instance, a city, if you have bricks or stones, whatever these guys are, the gray ones, if you have one, instead of paying 6, you will pay 3. If you have 2, instead of paying 6, you'll pay 0. You'll place it on the game board, and each specific various building requires either a guy there, or a city to be there, or you to have that many cities. You'll be doing cities, walls, boats, farms. Also, for a build action, you can actually take your boat that you've already placed on one of these 3 areas on the left-hand side of the game board and spend a build action and the currency based on that specific tile to move this guy up, which will give you rewards that are going to come in the instant variety, and rewards will come in the passive variety where you get it for your income phase. And that's how building works, placing your buildings out onto the world based on the rules for each of them, as well as moving up a boat. The last action is moving and placing dudes. You'll start with dudes in kind of like your commissary or your barracks here, and this action here will say 6, 5, 4. If you have 6, you'll be able to spend 6 action points of moving guys and placing guys. So for instance, if I were green, I could take these 2 from 6, I'll go down to 4 by placing them both down, and then I can move each one of them 1 space, 3, 2, 1, and 0. And then that would have spent all my actions to move and place guys. And you can do it in kind of any order that you'd like. And those are all the main actions of the game. The last action space looks like a snake, and it's got like a rainbow on it, which represents wild. It represents all the different colors. So you could use those 2 points to move 2 guy or place 2 guy. You could use those points to instead play 2 cards, build 2 buildings, or you could choose to draw cards. And so you can kind of pick and choose how you want to with the wilds, but you have to choose one specific action for it. All right, that's how the game works. I know there's a lot of complexities to this game, and I'll get into some of the intricacies basically during my review because I enjoyed a lot of the intricacies of this game and the drafting and all that. But the last thing I'll kind of go over is scoring. In rounds 2 and at the end of round 2, as well as 4, but 2 specifically, you're going to be scoring the world area for domination. If you have guys there, you get points based on the blue track, and if you have a lot of guys there, more guys than anybody else, you'll score even more points. And you could also score things like trees or your farms here on the space as well. And it illustrates in the scoring, wherever you are on here. It actually tells you up here on the game board how you score. You'll be scoring based on the 3 different varieties there. And basically at the end of the 4th round, not only will you score again for how you can control this world here in your farms, you'll also score for each of the different like boats you put out. You'll score for any extra cities you put out, the cards that you played throughout the game, the cards you tucked under your game board. There's a variety of ways to score. It's kind of a more complex aspect to it. The vases for each of the 3 different scoring triggers. Like in this case here, it's have 3 cards under your game board that have 3 of the specific trigger, or have 8 value on this blue track here, get all the way to the top, or push your income level all the way to 10, which is quite difficult. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game is the winner. Okay, let's cover it. I talked enough about how to play. Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age is quite the heavy Euro game. If you're expecting to play this in under an hour, you best not be pulling it out. 2 hours, if you're lucky. With 4 players, it's going to take you about 3 hours. Teaching the rules is going to throw in an extra hour. So you have to be expecting this to be a game that you're going to be sitting down to play for your entire game night. If you're watching this and you understand that it's a heavy Euro, even based on my light explanation of the rules, you will know that's going to be what you're in for. So for those of you looking to not play a game that takes roughly about 2 to 3 hours, and plus if you have to do a rules teach, throw an extra hour on, it's not going to be for you. Most board and dice games that look like this, have this like type of a box with this many components, are going to take 2 to 3 hours. Second thing about this game too, before we even get started with my review, just giving you a heads up, the game is massive. It takes up a huge amount of space. This is a crate and barrel table, which means this is a little over 6 feet long by about 4 feet wide, and it fits the game. Just neatly so. Now, I base it mainly on my Solomon Kane mat to distinguish how large a game is, and if it takes up more space than my Solomon Kane map, then I suggest it's an extra, like extremely large game. This one barely fits on it, so it's like it's an XL, it's not a double XL. So those 2 things, long, lots of table space, and the last thing is it's very mechanical. It's a Euro game, so when you do one of the 4 actions, or you choose the wild to do one of the 4, there are, yes, only 4 actions. You draft dice, you place the die onto the given action space based on the number of the die, and then you perform the action. The action could be to just draw cards, could be to play cards, build buildings, or move dudes. Those are the only 4 things you're going to be doing in this game. but there's a level of complexity to that. There are, as an extreme example, extra actions you must take and can take in the game. You'll be able to spend your axes to move your guys once every time you pull a die off, or spend an axe to gain a resource, a temporary resource from a space where you have a guy, once per time, etc., etc. You get the idea of all these special actions. You can use your ship bonus tiles you get when you move up on the space that has one. These are very powerful. Discard cards in your hand that you don't want for $1, a silver coin. And you can exchange 3 identical temporary resources for a permanent one. And exchange one guy as well as many axes as needed to defeat the water people, the barbarians. They have a cost to them and you can remove them and gain the benefit therein. So all those bonus actions can take place while doing your action. But wait, there's more. When you play actions, any cards underneath your game board that have a little symbol as well as a bonus of what you get, whenever you do that thing, you gain the bonus. So in some cases it might say when you draft a 4 die, a die that has 4 pips, you'll get to do X, Y, and Z. You will carry those out each and every time, provided you have that bonus. Or in this one here says that whenever you take the move action, you will get to draw 1 card. So there are bonus actions, and then there are free additional bonus actions based on cards you've played under your game board. There's also your special ability that will be taking place. That this one here, instead of having a value of 9 in order to move up on the tracks here, this is actually only a value of 8, which you can move up to reduce the cost from 7 to 6, etc., by getting up on this yellow track here. And then each of the buildings gives you benefits. Cities let you build more buildings. The walls here are going to give you more value whenever you have dominance, meaning more characters than anybody else in an area. Ships will give you those passive additional resources during income on these 3 different areas here. Farms will give you scoring bonuses on rounds 2 and 4 for how many that you have out. And then income. When you gain permanent resources, you will move up on this track a number of spaces based on how many of that income you have. You gain 1 and you only have 1 of that type, move up 1 space on the income track. You get another one, now you move up 2 spaces. You get 3 of them, move up 1 space and draw a red card. These are powerful cards. And then the final is if you have 4 or more resources, you're going to get of the same type. You're going to get to move 2 spaces, and that's for each and every single resource. And that's how you're going to move your income track, so that at the end of every round, you're going to get either $4 and a victory point, or $6 and 2, or $7 and 3. It really bases on where you are on these tracks here. That being said as well, each of these tracks on the right hand side of the bottom of the game board is going to give you unique aspects to it. Yellow is all about building and giving yourself bonus, getting yourself higher on your little bonus action, or like bonus ability, special ability board. Blue is all about giving yourself more value for dominance and scoring additional axes whenever you hit income phase. And red is about playing more cards face up under your game board to get that bonus triggered ability. And you can go up on any of those tracks. And at the very end, you'll score additional victory points. Whenever you move up farther than that, you'll get even more victory points for those specific tracks. Being able to play the cards not only in your hand, but also from the field here is great. And it's only going to cost you an extra $3 more to do so. And you can always use the reduced cost if you have those permanent or semi-permanent resources, usable resources, not semi-permanent. They last one time unless you have 3 and turn it into a permanent one. Then you can just use that over and over again, and it only counts as 1. This game has a lot going for it. It's kind of, I remember these games, I remind myself, it's kind of like skill trees, right? Where you have, like, in this case, there's only 4 actions, right? So you have 4 different skill trees. And based on the skill tree you choose, yeah, sure, you're only going to move 4 or 5 guys. But then from there, well, I chose this action, so I get the bonus here. And I get a discount on it for having this specific ability here. And after moving these guys over here, now I'm going to take the bonus action of fighting this sea people over here, or moving this guy here. Etc., etc. So there's all of that. Or maybe I'm building. Whenever I build, I get this bonus and that bonus, which triggers this, which triggers that, which can take turns to go rather long. And like I said, mechanical. Don't be surprised if you forget a few steps here and there along the way of this game. Maybe you forget one portion of scoring, or maybe you forget to move a guy. The very minimum is going to forget to use a bonus action. They're so important. You're going to lose the game if you don't use the extra actions. Definitely use them, but you probably still forget even with my extreme disclaimer. But That intricacy that is involved in this game is going to push people away really far or pull people in. There's so many routes you can take to this game with so very few actions, and being able to utilize those actions to give yourself bonuses and basically build up this really strong engine feels really good. A lot of actions are going to feel very, very good if you made the right choices, and very bad if you made the wrong choices. Moving guys when you have, or moving and playing guys out when you have all the guys you need in the spots you need and no guys left to pull out is a bad move. But it's also based on die placement. Yeah, sure, you might want those high value die to give you the 9 or more to move yourself up on these tracks, but that means you get the further distanced action, which means you get less valuable actions during the game. And also where you place them matters, because you're always going to take your actions at highest value first to lowest value. So you have to take into consideration 3 different things when drafting die, not even including what your opponents are doing. A, where you're placing and at what turn you're going to actually use that action. B, the value of that die and whether or not somebody else is going to take the next value. And C, having enough value of that color, with gray included or not, to give yourself the bump. Throw in extra players and you got yourself one hell of a thinker of a game. And then it's just compounded variables. If you are definitely into the number chunking and heavy hitter games, then Minos is going to be definitely one of those games to check out. Quality. This game has excellent quality. I love all of Board and Dice games. They come with beautiful the little wooden meeples representing the cities and the farms, and everything is really illustrated and easy to tell the difference. I can tell, looking at this board, who has the dominance in each of the areas, where all the cities are, and with the bonuses that you get, which I'm not even going to go into all that, as well as utilizing the dice works very well. The game is very structured so that you understand all the phases really well. It's just all the little intricacies that you're going to probably miss out on. The artwork for the game is excellent as well. The board looks great. It's separated. The graphic design works for the game, knowing where all the cards go, boats, pillars, actions, and even when I told people when I first started the game how to explain this game to them, I'm like, hey, that up there in the top right-hand corner, that's where you take all your actions. And ignore all the rest of that stuff until after you've paid attention to what action you want to take, and then go to each of the different areas that represent that action. So quality for this game is great, and the graphic design. The only thing I wish still, just like every other Board and Dice game, I wish they gave me a box insert or some type. There's no box insert, so everything is going into baggies. When I have to set this game up, it'll be another 25-30 minutes to do so, unless I have it perfectly organized, which takes even longer. Give me an insert so I can put stuff in the correct spot, so when I take it out, I can put it back in the correct spot later. Oh well, minor gripe. They've been doing it for a long time, and I keep complaining about it, but most Board and Dice games, you're going to find games like this for this type of strong year. At least I haven't found them. This is just really, really solid. Overall gameplay is excellent. If I've not scared you away by now from all the length and complexity and the setup and all that, the meat and potatoes of this game is great. High replayability, different types of goals. Your action is going to represent, your little tiny action will represent your kind of clan very well as to what you do. This character might focus on the pillars. One of them might focus on getting additional victory points throughout the game earlier on. Another might represent being able to place guys out easier. They all kind of focus on their own specific prowess and being able to kind of never get to make the same action. You can't jump into this game and I'm going to do this over and over and over again to win the game. There's no perfect way. Not when you have different victory conditions as well as different active abilities that kind of push you to actively go in that route, otherwise lose points. Card art is excellent. All this feels really, really good. So visual design and art quality is all way up there. I love the style. Mechanics of the game feel good. It's crunchy, it's heavy, a little bit mechanical and lengthy at some times, but overall a wonderful game. If you're a Euro lover, if you love a big, strong, meaty game where you want to sit down and this is the game you want to play for that night and get 3 other people, because you definitely want to play this, in my opinion, at 4. More players with Minos is better. We tried this at 2 players. It's fine, but the setup just really wasn't worth it for me. Most all the times whenever I play a heavier Euro, I want to play with the full player count. I feel like that's where the game is made for, and I don't think this is a different case in that matter. If you're looking for this game, there's a link down below. I highly recommend Minos for that specific player group that really enjoys those heavy Euros. I'm gonna keep this around for quite some time, but I know it's a game that's not gonna see play more than once every couple months, if that. Thank you guys for watching another Unfiltered Gamer board game review for the game Minos, Dawn of the Bronze Age by Board and Dice. If you're looking to pick up this game, like I said, there is a link down below in the description. I honestly wish I could give an even more detailed analysis, but it would take me so long. The video would run so long, and there's a lot of videos out there that already do so. There's playthroughs that run this for 3 hours, and there's an example video that's like 2-3 hours. Just want to give you kind of an overview, a good, healthy, descriptive overview of the game without covering literally every little tidbit in the game, so I hope you forgive me. If you appreciate our videos and watch more than one of our videos, you can hit that subscribe button, bell notification button. Welcome, it's the holidays. It is December, so if you're feeling particularly Christmassy, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Alright guys, that's all I got for you this time. And as always, I look forward to discovering the mythical location of Minos. In fact, it was a real place, but just don't know much about it. With you next time.